There is a small country, barely the size of Belgium, yet it controls the most advanced technology on Earth. A place where tiny silicon chips decide the fate of entire nations. Its collapse could shatter the global economy in a matter of weeks, shutting down factories, grounding armies, and leaving millions of screens in silence. Its name is Taiwan. An island that rose from obscurity to become the beating heart of the modern world. A territory that, through turbulent seas and political tension, built an invisible empire: the semiconductor industry. Today, every phone, every car, every satellite depends on its technological pulse. And that is why the great powers are willing to risk war, for a place that, though small, holds the future of us all.
Every phone, every car, every computer, every airplane depends on a tiny piece of silicon called the semiconductor. If chips disappear, it's not just technology that stops. The world itself comes to a halt. Chips are the new oil. But unlike oil, which is drilled in deserts, jungles, and seas, the manufacturing of the most advanced chips is concentrated almost in a single place. A place where clean, silent factories produce the invisible heart of our digital age. A place that sustains the global economy, national security, and even daily life. Every message we send, every bank transaction, every satellite orbiting Earth, all depend on them. And within that fragility lies a paradox. The most powerful infrastructure on the planet rests on a handful of machines, and on processes so delicate that a single speck of dust can ruin millions of dollars in production. Chips are the lifeblood of modern civilization. Without them, hospitals go dark, airplanes remain grounded, armies lose their digital eyes and ears. The entire world beats to the rhythm of a microscopic circuit. A circuit that concentrates power, wealth, and risk on a board where technological competition becomes geopolitics. Chips are not just technology. They are the new battlefield of the 21st century.
TSMC is not an ordinary company. It is the firm that manufactures 90% of all advanced chips on the planet. No one else can produce at this scale. Not Intel, not Samsung, not Nvidia. TSMC dominates because it achieved what once seemed impossible: building transistors so small that billions can fit on the surface of a human fingernail. And with each new generation, the challenge grows: more complex, more expensive, more risky. Today, it produces chips at 3 nanometers. And is already working on the next frontier, 2 nanometers. A level of miniaturization that pushes against the very limits of physics. Inside these factories, every step is a ritual of precision. A single mistake, a speck of dust, the slightest vibration, can destroy millions of dollars in production. The machines required to make these chips are so sophisticated that only a handful of companies in the world can even purchase them. And fewer still can master them. TSMC does not simply manufacture technology. It shapes the future of artificial intelligence, of smartphones, of airplanes, of defense systems, and the global economy itself. Every chip that leaves its production lines is a piece of power, a key that unlocks progress, and also fuels the fiercest geopolitical competition of the 21st century. TSMC is not just a company. It is the epicenter of a world that depends on invisible circuits, and on a precision so extreme that the fate of entire nations may rest on a single nanometer.
In the 1980s and 1990s, Taiwan had no oil, no minerals, no vast natural resources. But it had something far more powerful: engineers. And it had a vision, clear, relentless, almost obsessive, to become the technological factory of the world. While other nations filled their factories with clothes, toys, or cheap consumer goods, Taiwan chose a different path, one almost impossible: semiconductors. An industry so complex it seemed reserved only for giants. At first, they copied designs, learned from others. But soon they began to perfect them, to innovate, to build an ecosystem where precision was a religion, and miniaturization, an art. Every chip was a gamble. Every breakthrough, a leap into the unknown. And little by little, the island that looked small on the map became immense in the global economy. Today, even the most powerful superpowers depend on Taiwan to keep running. From the phones in our pockets to the satellites orbiting the Earth, everything beats thanks to the chips born there. Taiwan did not just manufacture technology. Taiwan manufactured the future.
Apple depends on Taiwan. Nvidia depends on Taiwan. AMD depends on Taiwan. The Pentagon depends on Taiwan. Economy, security, technology, all flow through an island just 100 miles off the coast of China. A small territory, surrounded by the sea, yet it concentrates more than 60% of the world's advanced semiconductor production. Invisible chips, tiny in scale, but essential. Without them, there are no phones, no aircraft, no artificial intelligence. Every digital transaction, every military operation, every scientific breakthrough, beats thanks to a silicon heart manufactured in Taiwan. Never before in human history has such a small country carried such an enormous role. It is a paradox. While its surface fits on a map as a mere speck, its influence stretches across the entire planet. Taiwan is the point where global economics and the most tense geopolitics of the 21st century collide. An island that sustains the balance of powers, defines the rhythm of technology, and silently shapes the destiny of millions. The future of the world depends on Taiwan. For China, Taiwan is not only a political or historical question. It is a technological question. Beijing knows that controlling TSMC would grant an advantage impossible to match. Because in the 21st century, power is not measured only in armies or territories. It is measured in chips. But there is a problem. Chips cannot be manufactured under war. TSMC depends on thousands of suppliers, on machines from the Netherlands, on chemicals from Japan, on designs from the United States. It is a global network, fragile, operating like a clock of precision. A conflict would not only put Taiwan at risk, it would destroy the most important factory in the world. The factory that sustains the digital economy, artificial intelligence, military defense, and scientific innovation. Without those chips, phones go dark, planes stop, supercomputers fall silent. The modern world comes to a halt. That is why Taiwan is not simply a point on the map. It is the epicenter of global technology. The place where it will be decided whether the future advances or stops.
The United States sees TSMC as a global strategic asset. That is why it has blocked China from accessing the most advanced technology. That is why it funds the construction of new factories in Arizona. And that is why it sends ships and planes into the South China Sea. The goal is not only to defend a democratic ally, but to protect the technological heart of the world. Because within those chips lies the power of the 21st century. They are the foundation of artificial intelligence, of defense systems, of the digital economy. Every satellite, every supercomputer, every smartphone, depends on them. Washington understands that losing Taiwan would mean losing control of the future. That is why the island has become the center of a global strategy, the point where national security and technological innovation converge. It is not merely geopolitics. It is about who controls the pulse of modernity, about who decides whether the world continues to advance or comes to a halt.
Taiwan knows it. And it has a strategy called the Silicon Shield. The idea is simple. TSMC is so important that no power would dare to destroy it. The factory becomes a shield, a kind of survival insurance for the island. Because within those machines lies the most valuable resource of the 21st century, the chips that sustain the digital economy, artificial intelligence, and military defense. Every nation that depends on them understands that an attack on Taiwan would be an attack on its own future. That is why silicon is not just raw material. It is diplomacy, it is deterrence, it is power. The Silicon Shield transforms a small island into a global actor. A reminder that, in the modern world, survival can be written in millions of invisible transistors. If TSMC stops, 40% of the world's economy would collapse. Cars would vanish from dealerships. Computers would triple in price. Companies would shut down. Stock markets would fall. It would be the greatest recession since the Second World War. Because chips are not just pieces of technology. They are the invisible engine of modern life. Without them, supply chains break, innovation halts, communication goes silent. A world without TSMC would be a world paralyzed. Empty factories, silent offices, markets in chaos. That is why Taiwan's continuity is not merely a regional matter. It is the condition for the global economy to keep breathing. The future depends on that factory never stopping. The future of technology is not in Silicon Valley. It lies in who controls the next generation of chips. The United States wants to maintain leadership. China wants to break the blockade. Europe wants independence. Because in the 21st century, power is not measured only in armies or territories. It is measured in transistors, in nanometers, in the ability to manufacture the brain of machines. Every supercomputer, every satellite, every smartphone depends on those chips. And every power knows that whoever controls them will control the economy, security, and innovation of the future. But for now, the heart of the world continues to beat on a small island in the Pacific. An island that sustains global balance, that defines the pulse of modernity. And its name is Taiwan.